everybody, it's Lizzie from Lizzie's Dressing Table, and for this episode I'm going to take you back to the 1980s. I want to show you all of the perfumes that I used to wear, so hopefully you don't find me too frightening with my makeup. But yeah, we wore it loud and we wore it proud back in the 80s. So please join me for this episode to go back to the 1980s. Everyone, so thank you for joining me so much for my next video. So as you can see, I am all dolled up as if I went back to the 1980s, and I can guarantee to you I did not look like this, and it took quite a bit of time this morning to look this trashy. So what do you think, everybody? But I have to say, back in the 1980s, when I was a young child, a tween and a teenager, we wore our makeup pretty vividly. But anyway, so I wanted to take you all back to the 1980s to talk about the perfumes that I used to wear. So I was a young child, a tween, and a teenager throughout the decade of the 1980s. It was between 1980 and 1990, obviously. I started off the decade as a 7-year-old, and I left the 1990s as a 17-year-old young woman who had just graduated from high school, going into college. It was an exciting time, and I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the cultural things that were going on, some of the activities and media objects that really influenced me. So as you can see, I have an Esprit sweatshirt on, and I'll tell you, this was the clothing item that I lusted after. I was actually able to find this on Etsy. I was so excited, or maybe it was eBay. It was one of those online retailers, and really excited to find it and to be able to wear a piece of 1980s history. But at the time in the 1980s, I was listening to Cyndi Lauper. She was a big influence on me, and also Madonna, the Material Girl. I was obsessed with Duran Duran, and also the Pet Shop Boys. And my sister, to tell on her, was listening to Debbie Gibson on the radio. But if you were a little bit more sophisticated and were into the British New Wave, you might have listened to ABC or Spandau Ballet, or even Brian Ferry and Roxy Music. But something I want to do too is go back into the 1980s, that whole decade, and talk to you about the perfumes that I was wearing. For the hairdo, and I don't think my hair ever looked this big, we were using Stiff Stuff hairspray, also White Rain, not to mention Aussie Sprunch spray. Do you remember that? I lusted after Esprit's colorful clothing, as well as Benetton, which was an Italian brand. I don't think they're even around anymore, which is a bummer because they really had wonderful clothes. My sole desire was a Le Sport Sac purse, and I actually found one recently at an antique store. So here is the vintage Le Sport Sac purse that I found at an antique store probably about 3 or 4 months ago. I was really excited, and actually I don't think that this is a Le Sport Sac from the 1980s. I think this is more contemporary, but it was $15. So in high school, the girls were wearing Giorgio Beverly Hills or Christian Dior's Poison. Neither of those scents appeal to me, and I can honestly say that Poison still does not appeal to me. I smelled it recently at a Macy's, and I love tuberose, and that is not a scent that I like, but I do enjoy Giorgio Beverly Hills. But it's not something that I personally wore in the 80s. So as far as fashion goes, I regularly stole my dad's Ralph Lauren Fair Isle sweater to stuff into a pair of oversized jeans. And also, to let you in on a secret, I also purchased a pair of Kenneth Cole's thick black-soled shoes. Do any of you remember those? That was something my mother absolutely forbid me to purchase, but I went ahead and I purchased it myself and would have to hide it up in the ceiling tiles of the basement where I lived, and I would get them before I went to school in the morning, just put them in my little bag and took them to school and put them on after I arrived. So I was kind of a bad girl. I also remembered a huge fashion staple in the 1980s was the different colors of limited Firenze sweaters, which I paired with a plaid skirt. There was also tons of day glow colored clothes in the 1980s. I remember shopping at Express for wild looking earrings, and on the radio there was playing UB40's Red Red Wine. Some of the things that I listened to, of course, was Cyndi Lauper. I listened to Wham, Yellow, Upstairs at Eric's by Yazoo, also known as Yaz, the Eurythmics, Erasure. It was a great time for music. A lot of one-hit wonders, but some bands like Pet Shop Boys, they persist to this day. So anyway, thank you for listening to my trip down memory lane back to the 1980s. So without further ado, we're going to get into the scents that I wore as a tween and a teenager, and I hope that if you recognize some of these scents, colognes, eau de toilettes, and even perfumes as I got into high school, that you'll add a comment below if you remember any of them. Did you wear them? Did your mom wear them? Because maybe some of you have moms my age. Safe to say, I'm in my 50s. So anyway, the first perfume that I remember from high school was Dana's Navy. And this actually used to be under the CoverGirl brand. I'm a little ambivalent about this scent. This was actually one of the first perfumes or colognes that I purchased out of a fit of nostalgia. So Navy was actually, and this is where my remembrances are faulty, according to my research that I did, Navy came out in 1990. I graduated from high school in 1990, but I just always remember wearing this as a teenager. But this cologne is considered an oriental floral. It has top notes, which are just considered green notes and peach. The heart notes are jasmine, orange blossom, rose, and ylang ylang. And the base is amber, cinnamon, coriander, musk, and vanilla. And as I mentioned, it was produced under the CoverGirl name, but it was re-released in 1999 by Dana. So, yeah, I remember I just really enjoyed this. This was just kind of a very neutral perfume and suggestive of the name. I would wear it with a horizontal navy and white shirt that I actually still have. It's a little stretched, not so much beyond recognition, but it's pretty old, but I still have it. So yeah, this is the first scent that I have in my collection. This is a newer bottle, not the original, that I remember from my teenage years. So the next perfume that I would like to feature, and please tell me if you are familiar with this perfume. This is Avon's Fifth Avenue, and this was not to be confused with Elizabeth Arden's Fifth Avenue. This came out years before Elizabeth Arden's version. But I remember, and this was during the time that I worked as an Avon lady. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you know that I have deep roots when it comes to Avon perfume. I was a very young Avon lady. That was my first job. I think I was probably 12 years old. But this perfume was released in 1986. It has coconut, rose, lily of the valley, amber, and musk. And those were really all the notes that I could find. But yeah, I was literally a tween when I wore this. I really like this. I don't wear it very much. But yes, please tell me, do you know this scent? I don't see anybody reviewing this. So the next perfume that actually was always on my grandmother's dressing table was Anais. And this perfume was released in 1978, and this ushered in the era of the white florals that were so popular in the 1980s. Now, some people hate this scent. I love this scent because it has just real ties to my grandmother. She liked this scent, and it's still, according to my research, one of the most purchased perfumes. I actually have two bottles of it. This is the old one. I'm not sure how old this is, but this is the new bottle that I bought at either Marshall's or TJ Maxx. This was like maybe $25. So the old one has a dabber spout. This one has a spray. It smells really good. You know, it's one of those beautiful pastel florals that I love to wear in the spring. I remember wearing this, and I would always steal this from my grandmother's dressing table. This was light enough for a young girl to wear. Wanted to talk to you about the perfumers on this perfume. It was Roger Pellegrino, Robert Ganin, Paul Leger, and Raymond Chéon. The top notes are hyacinth, lily, galbanum, bergamot, blackcurrant, citrus fruits, lavender, and lemon. The heart notes include lily of the valley, carnation, honeysuckle, orris root, ylang ylang, jasmine, orange blossom, rose, tuberose, and iris. And the base includes musk, oak moss, amber, cedar, sandalwood, vetiver, frankincense, leather, patchouli, and a partridge in a pear tree. I love this scent. This is a scent that I cannot wait for spring to come, because this is definitely going to be in the spring rotation. We're now into March. I'm taping this March 1st. And yeah, we had a day or two where the temperatures got into the 50s and we were all like, oh yeah, spring is coming. And then we were in the teens this morning. But yeah, I can't wait to wear this perfume. And I know you should wear perfume anytime you want to, but for me, this is like a quintessential spring scent. Very sheer, very flowery, floral. I love it still. So the next scent that I have is one that is also very closely tied with memories of my grandmother. She wore Chantilly, and this is actually a new box and a new bottle of Chantilly, but I remember on her dressing table, she had like a rounded bottle full of Chantilly perfume. And this scent was originally released in 1941 by Aubigant. It was re-released by Dana in 1990. And I'm going to open up the box. So it's just such a beautiful bottle. It's like cut glass. It's just one of those scents from the 1980s. I mean, going back to the 40s, what's old was new. This is so, yeah, this brings back such wonderful memories of my grandmother. We would go see her every weekend, and she was my earliest influence when it comes to perfume. The top notes include lemon, orange, and carnation. The heart notes are spices, jasmine, and damask rose. And the base includes patchouli, sandalwood, and vanilla. It's spicy, it's floral, it's aldehydic. It's just lovely. So, yeah, Chantilly. How many of you wore Chantilly or had grandmothers who wore Chantilly? I think this was big in the 1980s. So coming up next is Avon's Timeless, and this was the signature scent that my mother used to wear. This was introduced in 1974. I would have been 2 years old at the time. This is considered an oriental floral. The top notes just say floral notes and green notes. The heart includes jasmine, patchouli, and vetiver. And the base includes musk, amber, and oak moss. And this, to me, smells pretty similar to Chantilly, so I think my grandmother probably influenced my mother too when it came to perfume. But back in the 70s, scents were loud, they were aldehydic, they were powdery, they were powerful, they were spicy. So my mother influenced me with some of the other perfumes that I'm going to share with you today. But aldehydic, spicy scents aren't really my favorites, but she certainly did influence me. And this is not a bottle that she owned herself, but this is an old bottle, and it probably is about 30 years old. So I keep this around. I very rarely spray this, but I did get a fresher bottle of Timeless, and it actually holds up. It's a great scent, kind of citrusy. So I really like it, but it's a relic of the past. And so the next perfume, and this is also an Avon creation, it's Avon Imari, and this was introduced in 1985. This is what I wore when I wanted to get really spicy. It just was a mood, and I just found it sort of exotic. It's considered a woody floral. The top notes are aldehydes, bergamot, and galbanum. The heart notes are lily of the valley, orris root, tuberose, and ylang ylang. And the base includes amber, cedar, musk, sandalwood, and vanilla. And I'm going to open up the box. So this is the repackaged version. I have seen the solid wine-colored bottle in vintage stores, antique stores, but I just didn't pick it up at the time because I was not collecting vintage perfumes, which I sort of kicked myself for not doing. But yeah, this is really spicy, and wearing Portrait of a Lady by Dominique Ropion. To me, Imari, for me, is like Portrait of a Lady light. Portrait of a Lady is absolutely beautiful, but if you want something a little more low-key, something that you wear that doesn't wear you, I would recommend Imari because it's sort of an easygoing, spicy scent that's sort of evocative of the Orient. I think it's might be more of like a nighttime scent for an evening out, but it's not quite as ostentatious as Portrait of a Lady. So yeah, another blast from the past for me. And so the next perfume that I want to showcase is Benetton's Colors. And I remember purchasing this. I can't even remember where I might have purchased Benetton's colors as a teenager, but I remember it distinctly. But to me, and it was a very mild scent back then. And at the time, I had a colorless bottle I found on eBay was this color. Now, I think that the notes are pretty much identical, but this is Benetton Colors for Women. It's considered an oriental fragrance for women, and it was launched in 1987. So the top notes are Israeli basil, Egyptian sage, French hyacinth, and neroli. The middle notes are pineapple, peach, and tuberose, passion fruit, jasmine, and Bulgarian rose, and the base includes Madagascar vanilla, Chinese patchouli, oak moss, cedar, opopanax, and civet. And this is still a very light scent, and I would recommend wearing it in the summer months, although I did spritz it on. I went out and did some yard work, and heat just eats this perfume up. So it's lovely. It's very, very mild, and I don't know if that is because of its age. As you can see, you know, some of the coloring is worn off, even though the package that I got was completely intact and it was wrapped. But yeah, so Colors is another scent that I wore. I didn't wear it a lot, and it didn't make that much of an impression on me at the time. But I thought, you know, collecting perfumes from my own personal history, I would have to include Benetton Colors. So I realized that this is really dinky. This is Emanuel Ungaro's Diva, and I remember seeing the ads for this. By the time that I saw this, I was in high school. But what was really interesting, and I did purchase a big bottle of Ungaro's Diva. I didn't wear it a lot because it was pretty strong. I mean, I think it was a holdover from scents that were very popular in the 1970s. Even though this was released in 1983, I went back and I smelled it after I got this little splash, and I thought, damn, I had some really good taste in perfume. Not to pat myself on the back too much, but yeah, I guess I was a little diva when it came to perfume. But this was a scent that was created by Jacques Polge, and it's considered a floral chypre. The top notes are cardamom, coriander, tuberose, aldehydes, bergamot, and mandarin orange. The heart notes are carnation, jasmine, narcissus, orris root, rose, and ylang-ylang. And the base includes oak moss, honey, musk, vetiver, amber, iris, patchouli, sandalwood, civet, and vanilla. And to me, when I wore this, and I remember like being in choir and just wearing this and singing up there in the stands, and this was a great perfume. And I'm not sure how old this small little splash is. I purchased it from eBay, and it wasn't really cheap, but I'm really glad I have this because it is definitely a part of my fragrance history, even though I certainly did not empty the bottle of Diva that I had when I was a teenager. And so inevitably what followed Diva was Christian Dior's Dune. So this is just an interesting perfume, and it's again a perfume that I owned in the 80s, or actually it had to be in the early 90s because this was released in 1991, and it's just, I spritzed this when I got it, and I ordered it off Mercari, and it was a bit pricey, but still to me, it was a great and worthwhile perfume to recapture. It did not come with the cap, which sometimes it just doesn't. But I seriously thought, did I purchase the men's version of Dune? But actually, the men's version looks completely different. So I don't know how old this particular bottle is, but it really smells good. I like to wear it in the summer, even though it is a heavy scent. And actually, my husband spritzed this on himself, and he couldn't get it off himself. So he never went near Dune after that. So, but it's considered woody spicy. The top notes are Brazilian rosewood, mandarin orange, aldehydes, bergamot, and peony. The heart notes are ylang ylang, jasmine, lily, rose, and treacle mustard, which I found kind of interesting. The base includes sandalwood, ambergris, benzoin, musk, oak moss, patchouli, and vanilla. And it was created by Jean-Louis Suzak, Nayla Barbier, Barbir, and Dominique Ropion. So I'm going to spray this, so watch out, hubs. Yeah, it's just a really great scent. I kind of associate it with vacations that my family and I used to take to the beach, because where we would go has the most beautiful white sand dunes. So wearing this brings back memories of vacations. And so my next perfume that I wanted to share with you, and please let me know if this is a perfume box that you recognize. This is Vivage, and here it is. Vivage Eau de Cologne from Louis Feraud, and I think that's how you pronounce his last name. This was actually sold by Avon, and they had multiple different perfumes by Louis Feraud. And this is, now open the box. This is another perfume that I love to wear in the spring. It's very reminiscent of Anais, but this is something that I recall in my tween years. This was created and launched in 1984. The perfumer is Jean-Pierre Betuar. The top notes are elemi, pear, pink pepper, and grapefruit. The middle notes are ylang ylang, cherry blossom, lily, cassis, gardenia, dried fruits, and heliotrope. And the base is amber, vanilla, cedar, sandalwood, and white musk. And yeah, it's just, I love this perfume. And you do see it now and then at antique stores, but it's hard to find. I did order this off eBay, and I think I paid $20, $18, and I was just really thrilled to find this. This is going way, way back for me, and it's another perfume that I'm really excited to wear once the spring finally gets here. So yeah, Louis Feraud's Vivage. Please let me know. Do you know this perfume? Have you ever worn it? Have you smelled it? And what do you think about it? Okay, so we have 2 more perfumes to go, folks. So the next perfume that I really remember from my younger years is Avon's Night Magic Evening Musk. I think that there might be a couple of versions of this. I think there's just Night Magic Musk and then the Evening Musk. And this might be the original perfume that I had in my teens. I don't know. But I'll tell you, she's a little dusty. And I sprayed her on not that long ago, and I've labeled her, she's in official retirement because she's just kind of tired. But I remember spraying this. This is a great scent for the evening, I think for the colder weather. And this was really like the first musk perfume that I would wear. And to me, it smells sort of lavender. I don't know what it is. Musk to me smells purple. But it's considered a floral woody musk. It was launched in the 1980s. There was no specific date that I could find when it was launched, but the top notes include aldehydes, neroli, and lily of the valley. The middle notes are ylang ylang, rose, and jasmine, and the base includes musk, incense, sandalwood, amber, vetiver, and cedar. So, yeah. To me, it kind of reminds me, or what reminds me of Night Magic Evening Musk is Moonlight Path from Bath & Body Works. That has a very similar scent profile. So I'm able to kind of relive the Night Magic, the magic of Night Magic, even though you can still purchase this, and it is repackaged like they did with Imari. So I could still get it, but I just have a tender place in my heart for the old bottle. Yeah, it was lovely at one time, but she's old, so I've retired her. So do any of you remember Night Magic Evening Musk? Please put a comment below if you do. The last perfume that I remember wearing in the 1980s is Avon Pearls and Lace. I love to wear this. This seemed like something that maybe like Stevie Nicks would wear because she had the song Leather and Lace. But I would wear this with a floral dress. I would put a jean jacket on over it, and it just seemed like the perfect scent. I'm going to spray this because it's definitely very aldehydic, but it's really pretty. There was not a lot of information that I could find online, but all it said really was that this was launched in the 1980s. It includes floral notes and powdery notes. So that is about all the information that I could find. So yeah, she's sweet, she's pastel, and just captured the lacy vibe of the 1980s. So yeah, but just very quickly, I wanted to share some scents that I have in my collection, which I totally aspired to in the 1980s but didn't have. So this is definitely a scent that I remember seeing at Hudson's. If you live in Michigan, we had Hudson's. So I remember this beauty, and actually she's kind of falling apart. This is like a Sherman tank when it comes to florals. This is very elegant, very audacious. I just need to put her back together. So, but anyway, to me this was gorgeous. You know, created by Boucheron, which is a jeweler, and just a really heavy evening type scent, and you'll definitely want to pull out the black tie clothing if you wear this. And then something that I purchased recently, which I don't really care for all that much because it is really spicy, but I remember my mother having this on her dressing table, and this is Paloma Picasso's Paloma, or it's just called Paloma Picasso. And I did spray it. I actually got this for like $9, and it had a very interesting floral top note, but then it just became very, very spicy. And I'm not wild about spicy scents, but that is a relic of my past, not something I wore, but I wanted to share that with you. Do you remember Paloma Picasso's perfume? I don't know if she produced anything else, but yeah, the daughter of Pablo Picasso. So that's it, people. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I was really excited to present it, to go over the scents that I had from my collection from the 1980s. To me, they're something that I can spray and remember my younger years. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what perfumes you have in your collection that are from the 1980s. What were you into? What did you enjoy wearing? Where were you age-wise? It seemed to me that I grew up in a decade that was really known for huge honking florals. I was around for the big shoulder pads, the era of the working girl, if you remember that movie with Melanie Griffith and Joan Cusack. So I lived to tell about it, and again, I never looked like this, but I thought I need to play the part with this video. So thank you again for watching my video. If you liked this, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. And with that, I will say adieu, and I will see you on my next video. So have a great week. Bye.